Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father, and as always, I'm bringing you guys awesome interviews, and it is an honor and privilege to have my good friend back on the show. I think this is his third or fourth time being on here, Mr. Argyle Goolsby. Of course, you know, he was from Blitzkid, but he's doing his own thing now, and he's still keeping the horror punk vibe going, as I should say. So he's got a new album out right now called Darken Your Doorstep, and this is pretty damn good album. Ghost Light Waltz is one of my favorites on here. Blood Cave, Dear Theta, Destroy All Humans, and I cannot pronounce this damn song, but he'll tell me. In Votive Light, I like that a lot. So, Argyle, how's it going, man?
Going good, man. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you back on here, like I said. And let's jump right into this. What's impressed you the most about making the new album, Darken Your Doorstep? What's caught your eye or impressed you the most about it so far?
Just people's response to it, primarily. Everyone's been predominantly really receptive to it, which I was hoping for, I don't ever write, music with the intent to, try to make everybody happy. I just try to write music that I think sounds good, and I hope other people feel the same way about it. So, yeah, just the response has been really, really rewarding for me.
Producing this album, who produced this album, or did you do it yourself?
I did it myself. It was me and a guy named Sean Glonick, who was the engineer for the album. We spent most of the time in the studio together. But as far as like all the writing and all the structuring of all the songs, that was just me. I did a lot of that in pre-production before, we got into the studio, and then things changed, on some songs as we got there, as they so often do.
Do you like this side of doing it yourself, man, and don't have to have, a producer in or having like a time constraint on this? Do you like this side of it more?
I do. It can be stressful at times, especially when you're just one person. I don't have a problem working with other people. I like working with other people. It's just on a project of this magnitude for me, it's really hard to expect, people to dedicate as much time to it as I did and whatnot. Plus, a lot of the times I'm not writing the songs necessarily to get on radio or TV or anything like that. So, producers these days, not to take away from what they do, their primary job is to make your album accessible to mass appeal. And I'm not set on that, So people like it. If they don't, too bad.
Yeah, you're still back in the old days of the way you guys used to do. Just put it out there and let it go and let it fall where it may. Yeah.
Well, I'm taking a little more time with this one, definitely. You did hit the nail on the head there in the past with Blitzkid. Like the last album that we put out, Apparitional, that was probably our biggest album in terms of, like wind up and pitch and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think we even announced when it came out. So it just came out, and we were like, hey, the album's out. And that was it. I think I made one post about it. So things are a little different now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never really cared about social media or anything like that. I care about people, the fans and whatnot, but that wasn't the primary avenue to reach them. But over the past, I guess, like 6 years since the last Blitzkid record, everything's just swung that way completely. And, you kind of just got to adapt to it.
Are there any songs off the Darken Your Doorstep album that stand out more to you than any as of right now? I know you wrote all these, but is there any that stand out a lot more, possibly?
They all stand out to me for different reasons. It's a cohesive album, but there's a lot of varying kind of styles on it too. Do you know what I mean? It's not the same song written, backwards, and then forwards, and then alternating between the two. It's a lot of different ideas and concepts going on. So it just depends on how I feel. Certain days I like certain songs better. That's kind of the way I wrote this album to be for people.
And there's diversity on this. I think that's one thing I could say about Goolsby's albums, folks. I'm not saying this because he's on here. I've said this a lot. You've got diversity on each album that you've put out, even your EPs and stuff, which I think is really cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I often get pigeonholed into horror punk, and that's fine. I do a lot of it to myself, running around and, werewolf fur and giant leather collars and things like that. I love doing it. It's fun, but
yeah,
take all that away and, that's not, it's a support, like the whole horror punk thing is just one supporting element to like all the styles that I like, it's most visually horror punk, but when you listen to it, and I'm not taking it away from horror punk, I'm not saying that it's not that, it's just that it can be a really limiting genre to call yourself that, say I'm horror punk, I just try to I don't know, challenge people's perspectives on what that is with each record, and not just do the same thing over and over each time.
I want to throw this at you here a little bit. How much growth musically have you seen yourself and the band, actually, the Roving Midnight, all come together since your last album to this one, man?
Well, the first album was just me, it was just
Right.
me playing bass and my friend Chris playing drums. So when the band started, there really wasn't a band. It was just me putting out some music. That was like 2011, 2013, just to get it out there. But at the time I decided to do the Roving Midnight, I decided to do it in a way where there really wasn't a steady band. It was like a revolving cast of people, but in a good way. It's not realistic to think that everyone, that I know and that I play music with can just go on tour at the drop of a hat. So, it's set up to where, the band can continually tour, and no matter who I'm out with good musicians and good friends. So that's definitely helped me grow a lot since I started writing all the music by myself, because, being in the studio, even though I did produce it, with having Carlos there from Michael Graves and Johnny from Crypt Keeper 5 and, all these guys for that matter, they bring something to the music, that if I had played guitar on it, it wouldn't have been there. If I had, there's a couple of songs where, I didn't even play bass. I had Mikey from Crypt Keeper 5 play bass on 2 of the songs just because I really like his style. It's different than mine, and I felt like his style would be more appropriate for those songs. So, working with these people, it's definitely allowed me to grow in terms of how, I hear my music and I guess where it should go from here.
How is the writing and recording process with you and plus the group that you work with, that you bring in? Do you guys do anything differently, and especially you, to keep your mind open and fresh to new stuff, man? Because, you've done all kinds of lyrics and everything, but how do you keep fresh on this?
I don't know. I just, if I sit down, I don't really sit down and have a designated writing time, where I'm like, well, I need to write a song today. Usually it just kind of happens, and it usually starts out with just like a melody or even a lyric for that matter. It's kind of arbitrary which way it goes, but a lot of the stuff I just do myself in the beginning stages. It'll start out on either like on a voice memo on my phone, and then that turns into me sitting down with the guitar, and that turns into me sitting down with like a recording program and just kind of getting everything fleshed out. And historically, I would just send everything over to Chris White, Earl Blitzkid drummer, because we lived in the same town at the time. The entire time I've been writing music up into this, the release of this album. And then I would just kind of give him the ideas that I had for drums, and then, we would do a demo. And then from that point, like on this record, I just took it and gave it to all the guys that were playing on it, and just kind of explain the parts and whatnot, and that's the good thing about this band and even this recording is, there are people that play guitar playing bass on this. There are people that play, guitar normally playing drums. It's just kind of a good mix. I'm even playing guitar and piano and a lot of stuff on there. So it's it's cool, like amalgamation, of a lot of styles. That's usually the process. I really don't know how I keep it fresh. I just kind of keep doing it.
You've had a lot of reviews come in from the folks that's purchased this album, and but what do you hope the fans take away from the new Argyle Goolsby album once they start to listen to it, man? What do you hope they take from it?
I hope they take the album with them, where they go.
Yeah.
Where they go, I want it to be one of those records that's the way I like records to be, and that's the way I strive to write records, or, that album you can't live without. The album kind of moves with you through different transitions in your life. It's either there when you're feeling bad or there when you're feeling good. Either way, it's just a soundtrack to many different types of lives, I guess. So it's what I hope people take from it. I like I said, I throw these things out there, and if they stick, that's great, man. If they don't, just as well. Of course, it's more rewarding when people like it. But at the end of the day, I'm writing these songs to get my ideas out, and my feelings, and it's just kind of like my obligation to myself. But again, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, it's rewarding to see people that just across the world, different cultures and languages coming together to say it's a great record. It just goes to show, like, the power of music, as cliche as that sounds. You know what I mean? It's a really like kind of be unifying thing to be involved with. And I mean, that's what I hope for. It's just to keep that up.
Folks, Argyle is all over the place on stage when he's live. Even back in the day with Blitzkid, he's all over the place. It's high energy. But in your own opinion, man, for the folks that haven't got to come out and see you, what can they expect at a show from you in the Roving McKnight?
Oh, God, I don't know. The unexpected. You know, it could sound good. It could sound bad. I don't know. What a good show is to you. You know, some people think Gigi Allen's show is the best thing they've ever heard, and some people think Rush is the best thing they've ever heard. I'm kind of in the middle there, I guess. I don't know. You know, we got a really good musicianship in the band live. You know, I mean, everybody that's, you know, going out with me to do this, you know, they know their shit, you know, and it shows, you know. I mean, when everybody's having a good time on stage, it shows. You know, there's an energy on stage that it's kind of necessary in order to create the energy for the crowd. You know what I mean? So it's just a good time. You know, it's not a lot of people, maybe if they're unfamiliar with the band, you know, they see flyers. This kind of goes back to the whole horror punk thing, and they're like, "What's this guy doing?" You know, like. Thing is, people think that it's a crutch, and it's not. You know, I look at it like it's the Damned, and I'm not comparing myself to the Damned, but
right.
Picture of 1976 Dave Vanian, you know, on a flyer, you'd be like, really? Like, you know, you'd expect them to be the most pretentious goth band you've ever heard, but you know, if you saw them live, you'd be like, I was wrong. And that band is. There's a lot of pseudo pretension, I guess, to the way it kind of looks if you're, you know, if you're kind of unfamiliar with it. But once you see it live, I mean, you realize that everything that we do as far as the aesthetics, it's not a crutch, you know, it's just accent, I guess. Mm-hmm. So
no, it's not a crutch. I mean, that's your thing. That's what you've always done. I mean, it's stuck. That's you.
Well, not to cut you off, I was going to say, and we even didn't always do it. That's kind of my point. Even in Blitzkid, you know, a period in time where we didn't do makeup, and everyone thought that we were kind of selling out, like, oh, you're not doing makeup anymore. And I was just like, I'm the only one that does the makeup in the bands, like on everyone. So, you know, a lot of the times I'd be driving and we'd get to a show, we'd have half an hour to get in, get set up, get ready, mm-hmm. You know, and I'm painting 3 people's faces on top of my own. And, you know, it got to be kind of stressful. And then, you know, by the point that, you know, like we were doing tours with Face to Face and Strung Out, you know, it was unnecessary. Do you know what I mean? It really wasn't, like, again, we didn't feel like we had to go out and say, well, we're a horror punk band and we have to be identified as a horror punk band. We were just going out to play with a really good punk band and play, you know, really good punk songs with them. And again, so it's kind of just it's a hat I wear, you know what I mean? But it's not like something that I gotta have, I guess.
You know, we're in the digital era of music right now. Are you liking this, man, of recording albums digitally and social media, getting things out there a lot? Have you seen it's helped you out a lot more?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. You know, I mean, like, social media has definitely made everything more accessible. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And that is how people are going to find out about you. So, whereas in the past, you'd have to go out and hit the pavement, you know what I mean? And you might go out and lose a lot of money and, you know, that you don't have, and put a lot of miles on, you know, somebody's rented vehicle or borrowed vehicle just to hope that somebody found out about your record. Like if this record came out 10 or 11 years ago, you know, it wouldn't be, hey, everyone, here's a link to my YouTube page, and then 3,000 views in an hour, 3,000 people have heard the record. Like it just didn't happen that way. So in that respect, it's awesome. You know, because it does open the door for people to, you know, say, well, I like that or I don't like that. And if they do like it, then they'll come see you when you do play. But it's also kind of made people lazy in a way to where, you know, that becomes the primary, I guess, avenue of finding out about bands and checking them out, you know? Mm-hmm. So you know, people don't really go out and see bands as much live anymore at all on any level, I don't think. Do you know what I mean? Just because, you know, you can basically see a concert on YouTube, you know, you can download a whole album, you know, everything's there. And it's not really people's fault. I'm not like blaming people for that. It's just kind of the way of,
it's technology now, the way it is.
Technology, it's progress, I guess, right? So, yeah. You know, it's just a little difficult, man. That's the only thing that I feel like is, I don't know, kind of like catch-22 in the whole thing is while it does make you more accessible to people, technology also, it's just the oversaturation of it kind of limits people's attention spans to what they are digesting. So, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
you meet 3,000 people checking out your album on YouTube, you know what I mean? But that may have been the same equivalent of 15 people coming to see you 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, in terms of what it does for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's just hard to really gauge. I'm appreciative either way, you know, like everybody that checks all music out online, you know, I mean, God bless them, you know what I mean? And people that come to see us live, same deal. You just kind of got to work with how things move, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's my next question to follow up with this. With the digital era and stuff, you said, you know, I agree with you. A lot of people do it on YouTube, Facebook Live, things like that. But for the folks that can't come out to these shows and want to, have you ever thought about doing something like a live stream and maybe like charge, like a pay-per-view type deal? Have you thought about that?
Yeah, of course. You know, we thought about doing some, you know, live shows and things like that. Again, you know, that's one aspect of technology that's really good because, you know, again, it's not just saying, well, people don't like going to shows anymore. There's a lot of reasons that people can't go to shows. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I'm just saying it's different now than it was 15 years ago. I'm not saying it's, right. You know, people are better or worse now than then. It's just things have changed in a way that, you know, that's how I see it now. But I think that's a great, you know, opportunity for bands, especially, you know, I mean, if, let's say you're in another country, you know, a band or a fan's never going to be able to make it to see you wherever you're at. You know, it does bring you to them. And, you know, it has opened up my fan base a lot, you know, like social media and stuff like that, just because, you know, people get more content from you that way.
It's true. Very true. Now, you get a lot of support, and I see this all the time on here. You get a lot of support all over the place. But is there a country or region that has surprised you at the support you have gotten over the years?
All of it surprises me. I mean, you know, I'm not doing this to be, you know, above or beyond anyone. I'm just trying to find a level that I can identify with people on. And I've done that, you know, through this music. And, you know, I mean, nothing really surprises me, you know, specifically. The whole thing is a surprise to me. You know, anytime anybody's like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard, this is the greatest show I ever went to. It's not that I don't believe in myself. I just, you know, I'm not doing it with expectations. You know, it's just nice to know that people feel that way because I really don't think I could do anything else, you know, in terms of, you know, this world, what I want to do. So it's good to know that people are standing behind it, you know. You're going to have your detractors too, you know what I mean? And like, there's always going to be people who are going to like, you know, talk smack and whatnot. But I mean, it's never bothered me. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? It's yin and yang. It's light and dark, man. I mean, you can't have one without the other. You know, if everybody liked you, then you'd be doing something wrong.
Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's just a necessary balance. I said in my album, you know, in the thank you list, as like, to everybody who came to help build, as well as those who would destroy, I'm equally indebted. Because, you know, that balance brings forth the whole, you know. So, I mean, I don't hang myself up too much on negativity, you know, or any kind of praise for that matter. But I respect it. Do you know what I mean? I respect people's opinions. And that's not to say when people are like, oh, I love your album, that I don't care. I do. You know, I just don't let that, you know, guide how I act.
Right. Yeah. I know what you're saying. You don't let your ego get way out there. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no.
What does Argyle Goolsby and the Roving Midnight bring to the table for music that's not out there right now, if you could put it into words possibly?
Well, I mean, we're a very live-oriented band, you know? I mean, the Roving Midnight is... see, that's the thing, like, it's kind of confusing. When I started the band, you know, Argyle Goolsby is the imprint that I record under, so, like, all the music is Argyle Goolsby, and when I play it live, you know, I have two versions of the band. I have the electric band, that's the Roving Midnight, and then I have an acoustic version that I do too. You know, we've only played a couple of shows so far, but it's called the Hollow Bodies. But as far as like what I'm doing that people could deem to be different, I really don't know. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people will say there's nothing new under the sun, you know, there's nothing new out there. So I don't really know if what I'm doing is necessarily some kind of monumental undertaking or whatever, but I just know that I'm dedicated to it, you know. I put everything I've got into this, be it live or songwriting or putting together some kind of packaging. I really try not to cut any corners. So I guess my best answer for that is just quality. Do you know what I mean? Like, no matter what your preference is in music, I bring like 100%, no matter what I do. That's just always the way it's been. I think that's what's helped me, throughout my career, is just really taking it seriously. Now I'm not writing just to put out content. I'm not writing just to, I don't know, keep up with anything. Do you know what I mean? So I've just been fortunate to have a steady output, I guess, of music, and a steady output of people that are supportive of it. And I mean, I guess that's what you could expect, is steady output of just quality music. What
made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you that said, that's what I want to do right there?
When I was a kid, I always loved Buddy Holly, and I thought he was awesome. I mean, the last song on the album, The Black Holly, was kind of like kind of an outtake that we did just for, I don't know, like fun amongst ourselves. We just finished that song, The Black Trance, which is on the album, and Johnny started playing the guitar in the way like Buddy Holly would have, and I just looked at him and I was like, keep doing that. And then Dave jumped in, and then we just recorded it. So, but I mean, getting back to the answer, hearing that music when I was a kid kind of turned me on to rock and roll. And then honestly, as I got older, I really, really got into the Doors. A lot of people kind of like, just kind of furrow their brow when they hear that name, but they think it conjures up visions of Summer of Love, hippie music, but like they were not anything like that. Like if you really, really dig into the Doors, and just don't allow, I guess the mainstream kind of perception of Jim Morrison, blah, 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 like to get in the way. There's a lot of really genuine content there, man. Like that music was really like eye-opening for me. You know what I mean? So that was a big deal to me, and I would go to like FYE, okay, because there was no YouTube, and I would buy VHS cassettes of like Doors performances just because I was like, I'd never seen them perform, and this is like my favorite band at the time, and I saw concerts of them and footage, and I was like, this is insane, just like the energy of that band. And then as I got a little older, I discovered punk rock. I discovered first off Minor Threat, and when I heard that, I was just blown away. I was just like, this is the most real like thing I've heard, and I don't even know how long. Everything up to that point had been kind of, I don't want to say pop, because again, I'm kind of like contradicting what I just said about the Doors, but they were very artsy and very introspective, and like Minor Threat were just like, fuck you, and I was too, about a lot of things, at that point, 15, it's all about fuck you, and that's where I was, and I heard that, and it just kind of set off a chain of events, man. I was like, these guys were younger than I am now when they were doing this, or around the same age, like I'm hearing this later on in life, right? So I was like, if they can do this, I can do this. It's the same story that so many people have when they hear punk rock for the first time. It brought it to your doorstep. It wasn't something that, you were on the outside looking in at anymore in terms of rock and roll. It was like something that you could do. And, it was all about, I guess, the getting energy out there. So I didn't have any access to music, right, or a band or anything. So I just kept on listening, man. I found out about Operation Ivy, and I really got to them. Of course, I found out about the Misfits. I mean, I'd heard of the Misfits already because my brother, who was older than me, I had a couple of mixtapes with them on it and whatnot. So all these little things just started kind of like piling up at the point that Blitzkid came along, and I didn't put out like a want ad in the paper, like, dude looking to be in band. It was just, I met some people who knew some people who ended up linking me up to, Blitzkid, or to TB at first, right? And then Blitzkid happened, and, it just was like, well, I'll give it a shot. So that's how it happened for me. But I guess that's the long answer. The short answer was the first time standing on stage, man. I mean, like just getting up there and, playing music, and just that energy, especially when you're like 19, 20 years old, man. You know what I mean? When you crank that shit up and you're in front of two people, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There you go.
It's like electric, man. It really is. And it was addicting, and we just kept on doing it, and it just got more and more rewarding, man.
It's like two today, four tomorrow.
Exactly. So that's my long answer and my short answer.
I know you mentioned Buddy Holly, but if you could work with any musician, dead or alive, for one day, man, or any band, who would it be?
See, that's a really hard question. Just
Ah.
one band or one artist.
Well, you could do a band or artist, both in one day. We'll go that way.
I put thought into like these types of answers. Not that they're throwaway questions. It's just they're just supposed to be fun. Like who's your favorite band? Like
Yeah.
This is classic me right here. You're going to be on here for a while. I mean, not the Doors and Buddy Holly notwithstanding. I wouldn't even have to play with these guys. I would have just loved to have been a fly on the wall, like at any point that any Clash album was recorded, just because that band really broadened my horizons a lot. You know what I mean? Again, I was in a Minor Threat and Operation Ivy, and it's really, there's a lot of like legit content in that music. But like when you listen to Operation Ivy, you know what to expect. And when you listen to Minor Threat, you know what to expect. When I heard the Clash, like every song was just like almost, completely different than the one I had just heard. That's kind of goes for all their albums too. I think that's had a lot to do with, I guess, my own approach to writing. I mean, you could even say the same thing for like Darken Your Doorstep. I mean, that's another example. Is the Clash taught me that you don't really have to, sound a certain way. You just got to present it a certain way. And they could play a gospel song, or they could play like a reggae song, or they could play like a rock and roll song, and it was always a Clash. And I would have probably the Clash, really. I think I would have loved to sit down with those guys and just, I don't know, man. Just, I guess if I had to jam a song with them or something, I think that would be cool. Artist-wise, probably Prince.
Oh.
I love Prince, man. And I know it's kind of like the bandwagon thing right now in a way for a lot of people because he just died. Well, didn't just die, but,
Yeah.
I loved Prince, man. Like, growing up, I didn't know what to think of him. Like, I was scared of Prince, to be honest with you.
Really?
Really, man. Like, he would come on MTV and like he scared me because he was so intense.
Yeah.
I'd see videos of him, and I remember seeing this one video where like I just thought he was going to kill everybody. Like, he looked so angry, like everything that he was doing, but it was just the intensity of what he did. And I remember watching a video where he like walked on stage and someone just like literally threw a guitar and it just landed perfectly on him or something. I'm probably like exaggerating that now, but I was just like blown away at like what an incredible musician he was. You know what I mean? Like, just so diverse, broke all the expectations that, I guess would be placed upon him as an artist. He wasn't R&B, he wasn't soul, he wasn't rock and roll, he wasn't funk, he wasn't punk, but he was all those things in his own way. And, that wasn't anything that I think I was consciously aware of, you know what I mean? Because Prince is like, like literally Prince now. I guess posthumously, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he was still Prince, but he wasn't deified yet. He was just kind of like in that weird transitional, period. You know what I mean? Like back when nu metal and shit was like the reigning the airwaves, like no one thought about Prince. You know what I mean? But like I still, and I probably didn't think about him much either, to be honest with you, but just like, now that I've gotten older and time's gone on, I've realized how much, I appreciate what he did.
He's a phenomenal guitar player.
He was, man. And that dude could play anything.
Yep.
There's a video of him coming out where he was playing with James Brown, and he was completely wasted. And they were just like, hey, Prince, come up on stage. Prince. And he's riding on the back of his giant, like, bodyguard that looks like the Bumble from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. He's riding on his back on stage, and he gets up there completely hammered and just ends up wailing these riffs and then just decides to take his shirt off and then fall off stage. And, like, even drunk, at Prince's most drunk and embarrassing moments, they're most people's highlights. Do you know what I mean?
Wail on it. Yeah. I know you still get this today, but I want to ask anyway. What's it mean to you, Goolsby, when you still receive emails from fans or prior to the shows or after your shows, they come and they still tell you that your music has pulled them through a bad experience, or it's gave them inspiration to overcome obstacles, or just made them relax to get away from the everyday bullshit that we go through. What's that mean to you still to this day, man?
It means the same thing it always did. I appreciate it. I don't ever take that lightly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I could sit there and think about, man, I wish I could find Jesse Michaels from Operation Ivy and write him and tell him how awesome, this band is and how much it pulled me through, obviously I never found out a way to do that, but if that dude wrote me back, I would have lost my shit. And I'm not saying I'm that guy or that I expect people to feel that way about me, but when people write you and they say, hey, I just want you to know, and I've had people write me and say stuff like this, your music's helped me through depression and, helped me really get through even suicidal times and things like that. You give that person the benefit of the doubt, man. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean by that is you do go, all right, well, maybe there is something special about this. Cause otherwise, I don't know. I know it's special. I just don't go around thinking it or I by proxy am special. It's just nice to hear that everything we did and even stuff that I'm still doing now is able to reach over, all those obstacles that people often feel, you know what I mean? That impossibility of being human. That's what music's there for. And probably one of my favorite parts of it, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said before many times, you guys, especially from Blitzkid up till now, there's been a huge impact on me. And I do this out of labor of love to support you guys, even still today. So, I'm always thankful and respectful for you guys, what you guys have done.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. Same goes to you. It's people out there, pissing in the wind and, putting their life on the line and, I guess enduring the struggle to get a message out, man, and share their love for certain things with the rest of the world. Those are the people that make the world, fun, colorful.
Goolsby, how can folks go out and pick up this album, buy some merchandise, tour dates? 'Cause I know you got some tour dates coming up. You're going overseas again and everything. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, the album, Darken Your Doorstep, is available in 3 formats. There's digital, which you can get on my website, argylegoolsby.com /downloads. And there are MP3s or FLAC versions of the downloads. You can get it on all other downloading sites except iTunes. And the reason why I chose to do that was iTunes is the primary download forum for a lot of people. But for the 17 songs that I had, they wanted to charge more as a minimum base price than I wanted. And plus, the version that I have available comes with an automatic 20-page digital booklet download. It has all the ID3 and meta tags and things that you would need for basically an iTunes library catalog, album. But as far as streaming goes, it's available on all streaming, Spotify, everything else. It'll be in Pandora. In physical format, we have the CD available. The vinyl is currently sold out. That was crazy. The pre-order went up. I think it was in April or May. I can't remember which it was, but I had 500 vinyls and 500 CDs, and I sold all 500 of those vinyls, I think, within a week.
Jeez.
So I got a lot of work ahead of me this coming week, getting these things out of here. I still have some CDs. I sold half the stock of the CDs, but I just put in an order for, I guess, a second pressing. It's crazy that. I had a second pressing before the album even came out, basically. So that's good.
That is good.
So yeah, that's going to be available once again alongside the CD on my store. And the store, if you go to argylegoolsby.com /store, or if you just go to argylegoolsby.com, you'll see it up there. One of the tabs. You can get all that stuff there. Tour dates are on there too. Same website. I have a mailing list on argylegoolsby.com on the homepage, and if you sign up, there's an unreleased song, previously unreleased, aside from being made available through this website, that you get when you sign up for the mailing list. So that's the only way that you can get it. So you can sign up for the mailing list, get the song, and I also send out all of my tour dates through that as well, and merch updates and anything else that's pertinent or relevant info. Shows that we have coming up right now, as of now, We have a date coming up in Massachusetts, in Worcester, with the Coffin Cats at this place called The Cove. In September, we have some European dates that we're filling up right now for Germany. One of those is already confirmed. It's a festival called Wreck and Roll. Well, it's almost confirmed. And then, it's on hold. We'll say that. And then we have, we're going to Moscow and St. Petersburg. So we have a couple of dates in Russia, and then back to my home state, to West Virginia. And we're going to do a Hollow Bodies show on September, I think the 16th, at the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant.
Nice. I saw where HBO was doing I guess like a little documentary about a Halloween show they're coming up with, and the Mothman was on there. I guess the Mothman store, it's over there.
Yeah, the Mothman Museum. It's kind of grown in terms of public consciousness, I think. I grew up hearing about it when I was a kid, right? That's what struck my whole interest in it to begin with. And then Jeff Wamsley, the guy who runs the Mothman Museum, he used to have a record store in Point Pleasant called Criminal Records. And every time we would come back through Point Pleasant, home from when we would play in Ohio, like Dayton or Columbus, we would always stop and see him, and check and, visit his record store. And, they didn't even really have the statue or the festival going at that point. And it wasn't long after that they did get the statue. And that's when the annual festival began. I've been to almost every one of them, that like my schedule's permitted me to go to. I think I've missed like 2 in like 10 or 11 years. So they're always fun. I mean, it's not like anything, crazy. It's not like you're going into some kind of, these crazy haunted houses where, people are going to jump out and grab you in Mothman costumes and pull you into the woods or anything. But I mean, it's still fun.
For sure.
And it's a cool meeting place, man. I mean, I see so many people, the same cloth, people that are into like not just monsters, but, I guess horror rock, if you want to call it, and horror punk. Mm. It's always been kind of like an official meeting ground for a lot of people, like my friends in the Big Bad and the guys in Mumula. We've been coming together just to hang out there for years now. And we had talked about playing this festival for a very, very long time. And we finally did it last year and got asked back this year, and, see how it goes, man. We're going to try to keep it going.
Before I let you go, good sir, as always, thank you for doing what you're doing and coming on the show and just letting us be fans of you guys. But before I let you go, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Sure. This is Argyle Goolsby, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour.
Everybody stick around. We got some great, great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. Please go out and pick up Darken Your Doorstep by Argyle Goolsby. Great, great fucking album as always. Thanks, Goolsby.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.